She's serving you post-workout glow, but like not at all. Okay, so before we start, let's just address the elephant in the room. This mess behind me is the reason why I'm sitting so close, up close and personal. I'm gonna be going overseas again. Right now I'm back in Toronto, but I'm gonna be going overseas. If the borders would just reopen already. So speaking of borders opening up, I know some people are thinking about moving overseas, and particularly to Korea. It's around that time where people are either starting their new life there or they will be within the next few months. I thought it would be a good idea to give some people a heads up on what it might look like if you get an apartment that's in a more like rural slash countryside part of a bigger city. I'm not 100% sure of what the price of my apartment was, but based on what two different sources told me, and then on this piece of paper that like I couldn't fully understand at the time because I couldn't read Korean, it basically said my apartment was estimated at around 400,000 won, which is like 400 US dollars, which is like 400 and something Canadian. That can vary based on wherever you're living and size of your apartment as well. So some of the people in my areas had places way bigger than mine, and some people in my area had places way smaller than mine. So it's really just like luck of the draw. I was living in Daegu. I was lucky enough to be placed in the city of my choice. The only thing is, I really didn't think I'd get placed in like hella far countryside. And when I say far, I mean like if I wanted to go downtown from my place, I would have to jump onto a crowded express bus. Like no matter what time of the day it was always packed. And then that express bus would take you onto the subway line. And then from the subway line, from that subway station, you'd have to go about like 23 to 25 more minutes just to get downtown. It was really far and it took a lot of getting used to, but this is why I want to prepare people for, you know, what to expect. I feel like I'm rambling too much. Let's just start the tour. So these are just a few pictures of what the apartment looked like when I first moved in. This is the kitchen area. As you can see, it's a kitchen. It's also a dining room. Now, if you look to the right where the frosted door is, that is the laundry room. And then if you look in that big gaping hole in the top left corner, on the left, that's where the main entrance is, or the foyer. And then on the right, that's where the washroom is. Okay, speaking of the washroom, this is it. As you can see, there is no shower, so it's a wet bathroom concept. It gets very wet, very musty, hence why the window pretty much always has to be open, as well as that like fan switch that kind of, I guess, sucks up the air. Yeah, there's not much to show just because it is so tiny. This is how the bedroom looked when I first moved in, literally day one. Pretty bare bones, but there were a lot of house supplies, bed sheets and stuff left for me. I didn't use any of them just because I am a germaphobe, so I had to bring my own stuff. This is the view from one of my bedroom windows, also one of the laundry room windows as well. It's just mountains for days. Living in a rural area, you're just surrounded by hills and mountains. Okay, now let's look at my apartment in a more lived-in setting. So we'll start with the main area. This is where I keep my food waste bin and my cleaning supplies. We also have my cabinet where I kept it into 3 parts. So the top was just anything I don't really use, middle was life supplies, and then the bottom is shoes. I had a lot of shoes from when I came from home. I also brought a lot of sanitary products from home, so the shelf space was definitely appreciated. All right, so that brings us to the washroom next. Now, I'm not walking in there just because the floor was wet. I had just taken a shower, but it's pretty much like I said, it's a wet bathroom concept. If you look here, this is my medicine cabinet. So everything I need to survive is probably gonna be in there, especially things that I don't want to get wet, like the tissues, for example, in the corner. This is the area that leads into the kitchen. Now, this is a snapshot of how the kitchen looked before I changed everything around. I used to use the kitchen as a dance space. I want to have as much room as possible. There was ample storage room for all of my kitchen supplies. I stored anything from like a rice cooker to my seasoning, literally everything fit. I also stored garbage bags that I just accumulated over time, also the garbage bags that you need for recycling, and also the cleaning supplies and food waste stickers that you need to put out in order to get your garbage collected. This is how the kitchen looked, I guess you could say on a bad day. This is like well after I'd moved things around and I moved the table back to its original position. There's the gas burner, as you can see. It's actually not that practical because you can't use two big pots at the same time, which is really annoying. And does anyone really care about what's in my fridge? I feel like this is just a dumb thing that people do. Like weird flex, but okay. I also added a shelf and I purchased a toaster oven because I needed more variety in the foods I was cooking. It definitely came in handy. All right, let's head over to the laundry room. Okay, this is my laundry room. So as you can see, that's my washer. There is no dryer. I'm sure you probably have figured out by now that clothes have to dry just in the natural heat, which was something that was a huge learning curve for me, but you kind of get used to it after a while. That's just extra junk that was left behind with the apartment. I didn't want to throw it away just in case the person who was replacing me may need the stuff. Just because I didn't need it didn't mean someone else wouldn't be able to use it. There was also plenty of space to hang all of my clothing. And finally, for the most relaxing part, my bedroom. I think this really embodies like me. This is how it looked more toward the beginning of my residence there. It's pretty bare bones, but it kind of just represents me perfectly, I think. Not too chaotic. And what I did was I kept my work clothes on that rack outside of the closet. And then I kept all of my bulkier weekend or after work clothing in the closet. The closet space is pretty generous. It was enough to hold 2 large suitcases and a carry-on bag, plus my purses and, like I said, my bulkier clothes. My winter jacket is somewhere in that mess. So yeah, it's pretty good closet space. This is my room. Let's just say right before I was about to move out. As you can see, there are more decorations. I added an inflatable chair in there. This is just the room from another angle. Changed the bed sheets. It looks very lived in. Again, still very me, especially my memory wall back there. There are pictures I collected before I left Toronto. Just pictures of all my friends to remind me of home. It's very important if you're moving overseas. Okay, so there you have it. That is my apartment on day 1 versus pretty much up until the last day I moved out. There are actually a lot of pros and cons to living in a more rural area, but I don't think I can cover all of that in this video because I will end up rambling. So if anyone needs any tips or tricks, just let me know. I hope this helped in some way. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.